And joining us in studio, of course, you at home are also welcome to give us a call, is Gashua Brooks, Communications Coordinator for the South African Human Rights Commission, Mr. Imaka Johnson, Acting Deputy Chair and Public Relations Officer at African Diaspora Forum, and Samkelo Mgobozi, spokesperson for the DA Mayor of Tshwane, Mr. Solim Simanga. Gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us. Of course, what we've seen now with the Minister trying to intervene, saying that if at least all businesses were to abide by the law, we document the immigrants and foreign nationals, that this will allow for a level of control and understanding that people are here legitimately. A question, though, Gashua, was the South African Constitution allows for all who lives in South Africa to enjoy opportunities, etc. That's not necessarily the same in other parts of the world. You know, geopolitics aside, are locals justified in saying that at least at a micro level, there needs to be a level of protection for those businesses?
Well, good evening to you, Cindy, and good evening to the people at home. I think it's, of course, the Constitution in its preamble extends the rights to all who live in it, who live in South Africa, first and foremost. But I think that we also need to understand that there's a legal framework around the Constitution and that there are limitations to rights. So if you are a foreign national, born outside of South Africa, living in South Africa, there are certain limitations. And that is why, for example, people need work permits, they need study visas, and the list is quite lengthy in terms of the regulations that we need to meet. So which means that these rights, various rights, aren't just extended, that there is a form of discrimination, but legally we understand that as being a form of fair discrimination, because remember, it's unfair discrimination that's limited, that is limited within the Constitution and within the law. So I don't think that there's this free for all and people have all kinds of opportunities that they can get social grants and houses and, you know, and some of the things that have been said. There are limits on those rights and strictly within the law and constitutional and fair.
All right, I have to take the DA spokesperson for the Mayor of Tshwane, Solim Simanga, and on the line is Samkelo Mgobozi. Thanks so much for joining us. We believe that your time is rather constrained, but just your reaction to Home Affairs Minister saying that essentially the small businesses at a micro level are what's fueling tensions between foreign nationals and South Africans.
Well, first and foremost, I only speak on behalf of the Executive Mayor of the capital, and I'd like to say up front that the Executive Mayor, Solim Simanga, in no way feels that xenophobia can be sanctioned or is condoned in any regard, much less the venom and violence that ensues therefrom. So what I'm saying is that Mlusi Gigaba is free to, in all regards, approach the issue of xenophobia in whichever incarnation he chooses to do so. But ours is that crime is not an issue that is unique to one nationality or the other. And the Executive Mayor of Pretoria feels that we will fight crime, whether it's perpetuated by South Africans or foreign nationals or whomever. If it's within our jurisdiction, it's our duty and our constitutional duty and our municipal duty to fight crime wherever it exists. So the question of the foreigners question is a question that is left squarely in Mlusi Gigaba's jurisdiction, and that's up to him and the Department of Home Affairs to decide how he proceeds in this regard. But ours is to ensure that the people who live in the city, who are lawfully in the city, have access to all the opportunities and all the provisions under the Constitution, and anything outside of that is outside the Constitution, is, we believe, unlawful. And people within the city who behave in a manner that is not commensurate with the law will suffer the might of the law.
Okay, Samkelo, I think maybe, I missed you, or the question wasn't clear. If you look at other African countries, in fact, the world over, there are indigenization projects that essentially protects the locals who would be small-scale subsistence business operators from, unfair competition, if you will. I mean, the entire Kasi economies have gone to the Somalis, Pakistani. I'm not necessarily saying that we need to typecast foreign nationals, but I'm just saying, if you don't take care of your own, how then do you protect jobs and livelihoods?
Well, you see, that is a very, very dangerous misconception to have. I completely understand the question. The question speaks to indigenization programs and, helping people that are indigenous to this country. But that can happen, and that is more than happy to happen, but not at the exclusion of a different sect of people who are protected under the Constitution. So that is not to say that we don't support South African local and medium and small enterprise. That is to say that we support those enterprises, but we should not then vilify foreign nationals who come to this country and are very industrious and enterprising in their own regard. So to burn down shops and homes of people that own other shops or containers in the gussy economy, as you put it, is not the answer to that. It's a question of whether or not the glass is half full or half empty. And our perspective is the glass is half full. So how do we help foreign nationals as well as South Africans to enter into the economy and participate in the economy? The question is not to eliminate foreign nationals so that domestic citizens can thrive. It's not an either or, and it's not mutually exclusive. It's a program that has to happen in tandem and have something together and be commensurate with each other and within the bounds of the constitutional provisions, constitutional order that we've established since 1996.
Yeah, please stay on the line, Samkelo. We've got Emeka Johnson from the African Diaspora and Gershua Brooks from the Human Rights Commission. Just Mr. Johnson, in Samkelo saying that we can coexist. The minister also saying that generally South Africans are not rather xenophobic, and the fact that it's probably in that gap where there is lack of regulation and people are not documented that the conflict stems from. What's your view?
I think we can cohabit, definitely, like every other nation. But the issue of undocumented people, it's not what spurred the xenophobic attack. It was coated with fighting crime generally. But to us, it is not only fighting crime. We still insist and believe that there is tension in the communities over time, but Mayor Mashaba's statement was actually the agent provocateur in this case. But having said that, we still disagree with the minister saying that it's businesses that are spoiling this. It's not businesses. Most foreigners in this country are entrepreneurs, and for this economy to be viable and vibrant, you need entrepreneurs to start business, unless if he's talking about the corporate. But when you come at the corporate level, you find that foreign companies do not survive much here. Bureaucratic bottlenecks and corporate collusion scares them out. How many Nigerian big corporates have survived here? A lot of Nigerian big corporates have come here, big ones, went into JSE, but one way or the other they are skimmed out. So we don't believe it's business this time.
All right,
we
get a
believe
reflection.
just petty criminality
that needs to be rooted out. Sembi, so thanks so much for your call. Good evening to you.
Yes, good evening, ma'am. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. What's your question or comment?
Yes, I'm Sembi Somsomi in Peter Marisburg. Actually, I just want to comment on the topic. Actually, it's not as an xenophobia that South African has towards the foreigners. It's the problem that caused tension. It's because some industries they're using foreigners for a cheap labor, and as well, some other foreigners they came here illegally, and they use their business. Some other dirty business, like what we have seen in Pretoria. So if we can have some other ministers or the government to put a strict ruling against business.
I think that's exactly what the minister was talking about. But also we caution not to typecast and generally saying that it's a particular nationality that is perpetuating crime. But I appreciate your call. I think there's a Mngoba on the line. Good evening to you. And what's your comment or question? Hi, Mngoba.
Hi, how are you, Mngoba?
Oh, hi. Yes, what's your question or comment?
Okay. My comment is it's funny the way this guy put things every time when he has to talk about things, because ANC have failed us as South Africans. These people, they never been in the places that we stay in. They really don't know what's going on. So these drug issues, us as South African, I live in Johannesburg. I came in Johannesburg 3 years ago. It's something that's going on. It's something that I know. And all these convenience stores, you're going to find them in the township. These people, they pay or they rent to them SAPS. And we all know that. And we fed up, even if you do something to these people or they get to treat you unfairly, you go and complain to the SAPS. They're not going to help you.
Mangoba, okay, we'll get our panelists to respond and hopefully assist you in that one. We have Shamplane on the line. Good evening to you and thanks for calling.
Thank you, Ma'am. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Yes, I'm in Forshville. Ma'am, I just want to comment something here. You know, these things of undocumented foreigners, it gives a headache. But what I really want to know is that if Mr. Gigaba, for instance, we're talking of the ZSPs, which are expiring on the 31st of December, as you'll be saying that when there's foreigners, when their permits are expiring, they should go back home. Will you be prepared to give those people their Provident Fund and UIF once for all so that they go once without waiting? You understand? Second, it's like people are politicizing these things to say foreigners are doing these things of drugs and stuff. I cannot say foreigners. Yes, there are some foreigners who are dealing with drugs, but not all foreigners are there to deal with drugs.
I really agree with you. I'm sorry to have to let you go, but thanks for the call. We have to let Samgelo also go. He's in a bit of a rush. Samgelo, just your reaction with the community members or the callers saying that we don't know the reality at a grassroots level, having to interact with criminal activity around drugs and prostitution, and that the authorities, there's a trust deficit there where you can't even report the matter, so it's perpetuated. So where are the bylaws there? Yeah, we've lost Samgelo, unfortunately. But just casual, I mean, there's a sense of despondence and helplessness from communities. Not the first time we've spoken about this. There's efforts on the side of the African Diaspora Forum to collaborate with the South African authorities and eradicate criminality. But we don't seem to be making headway. What do you think is at play here?
Again, Cindy, I'll take it back to communities, and I've heard that indictment on various forums and very many areas. And I mean, personally, I can say that I wasn't born after 1994, that I can guarantee you, which means that I grew up in a township, which means that I am actually quite physically and personally familiar with the circumstances that persist within townships. And yes, we do have an understanding, even on a personal level, of the challenges that communities face. What we need to really get back to, and I understand that we're having this very nebulous conversation around foreign business ownership and the role that foreign nationals play within our communities, etc. And my question then becomes, what is it actually that we're discussing and that we are so upset about that we want to take to the streets and see some of the activity that we've seen in the last weeks? Is it the fact that we have foreign nationals that run businesses in our communities? Is it the fact that we're blaming them for crime? Is it the fact that we're blaming them for being undocumented? And even if we do blame them for being undocumented, how do we go about proving this? Because by me looking at you, Cindy, I have no idea of whether you have an ID or passport or anything of that sort for that matter. So this is the concern for me, that inevitably, if you take all of this melting pot where all these complaints have been thrown into, don't we arrive at a conclusion that the problem is that people are of different origins and that they're from another country, and that is really the problem at the center.
So you're saying that these are xenophobic attacks?
I think that's what we have to call a spade in this particular instance. That's the first thing. The second issue is, yes, of course, all of these issues need to be dealt with. We do need better policing within our communities, and that the police need to stop those police that are part of the collaboration with the crime.
Is there the political, I mean, why is it that we can't deploy? We've seen in certain cases at El Dorado Park, where the army was sent in for a short period of time, and things seem to have moved ahead. But we're back to square one. And Mr. Johnson, I don't know, from your part, obviously you would feel that you're unfairly discriminated against, at least the foreign nationals that are legitimately in the country, and even the business owners that are unfairly targeted. What in your view is the recourse?
Yeah, I don't know really what's their grudge, but definitely I know that majority, over 70% to 80% of migrants in South Africa are duly documented. That I'm sure of. And then, having said that, too, there must be some criminal elements, like I always say, amongst the migrants. But I don't believe, or we don't believe from the stable of ADF, that these attacks, like he said, is basically, you can't just see somebody and say he's undocumented. You can't just see somebody and say he's a drug dealer. You see, and even all these crimes are real, mob action is not a solution. South Africa has the adequate institutions to activate to tackle these challenges. What we are living in fear as we speak. We are living in fear as we speak. We don't know what tomorrow is going to be. With the massive march that has been mobilized that over time, tomorrow might be deadly. Today there are a lot of sporadic attacks. There was one in Jamestown today. A Zimbabwean lost his life. There was one in Hebrew. A Nigerian was shot. I mean, it's snowballing. And why we are so pained is that we warned against this from December because we saw it coming. We saw it coming with reckless statements. But having said that, we are looking for solution at this juncture. And this thing is spreading. As we speak, Nigerian government is not at ease. This thing has spread up to Nigeria as we speak. MTN is on fire in Nigeria as we speak.
So I mean, the ramifications, of course, of this hostility is spreading beyond our borders. But let's take Isra. Thanks so much, Isra, for calling us. We have the African diaspora saying that the target is not in terms of businesses or the competition that foreign nationals has brought. It's a case of the South African policing, number one, and secondly, just downright xenophobia. What is your view?
I think first things first, we must declare the ANC in Tshwane that we are totally against any violent attacks against a black foreign national. And I think there's a mismatch there in that the violence is particularly being meted out or intended to be meted out against black foreign nationals. But the other challenge that is there is that you have got instances of political formations often making reckless statements, which then militate a domino effect such that will affect the DA in Joburg, the mayor there, saying that all black foreign nationals in the main should be cast off from the terrains of South Africa. And those statements are the ones that at the end of the day militate in other regions of the province. People to begin to organize themselves in groupings and ignite and rekindle that
but Israel, do you think the focus now of targeting undocumented foreign nationals and businesses is the right approach to go, and insisting also on the employment of more locals by a foreign nationally owned companies?
I think those are genuine socio-economic issues that have been raised. But I'm saying that we would need to carefully construct measures and interventions to be able to respond effectively to those. And I think government has been doing, a lot of work in seeking to fashion responses to those challenges that are there. I mean, it goes without saying that, of course, it may take a while to perfect the system as to how you document all foreign nationals, given the situation in the rest of the continent.
Okay, let's.
So I'm saying,
sorry, Ezra, we're really out of time, but thanks so much for calling. Mashilwane, thanks for calling, and Mpilo, we see you as well. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, ma'am.
Yeah, we'll start with Mashilwane. What's your perspective? Hi, Mashilwane.
My biggest problem is we do not have the rule of law. You may speak about foreigners that are employed by companies. The government has put in place regulating agencies like your Department of Manpower, who must regularly regulate and visit these companies to implement the law specifically. They are simply not doing that. In regard to our communities concerning the the drugs and so forth, you have the police force which is equally ineffective. So how do we expect people to behave?
Mashilwana, thanks. Yeah, sorry about that. Mpilo, good evening to you.
Good evening, Cindy. Look, Cindy, there are highly educated, skilled foreign nationals who are documented, who are useful in this country. No, but I don't think anybody has a problem with that. But now we've got a challenge with the influx of those unqualified foreign nationals who will come in the country and won't have a job, and add to the numbers. The cake is too small, Cindy. And when they become vulnerable to, and they get tempted to crime, they get vulnerable to the employers. They work for less money, and they become the tool to hinder the progress that has been made to fight for a living wage for those South Africans who want a job. Now they become the tool to deprive South Africans.
Yeah. All right, Mpilo, we're going to have to leave it there. Gasho, just the whole frustration around, I don't know whether the anger is directed in the right channels, where, again, that narrative is perpetuated, that foreign nationals come and take jobs, etc. We still seem to be grappling with that in creating an environment that is competitive, but that also has more opportunities than what we currently see.
I think, Cindy, going back to the issue at hand here, first of all, people keep on talking about the fact that there's a lack of rule of law. It's not up to me as a private individual to assert the rule of law. There are authorities in place for it, the police, the NPA, all the various services that we have throughout the country. It's the Department of Home Affairs that determines who gains entry into the country and who does not. And of course, one does know that there are people that gain access through illegal means. But I don't think that they account for every single migrant that has ever entered into South Africa. The vast majority of people that enter South Africa enter through our borders, through our controlled borders. That's the first point to make. The second aspect is, yes, we have the Department of Labor, and the Department of Labor needs to ensure that all people are there on legal basis that are working and employed. So my job, for example, I'm a South African citizen. I'm actually able to do the job that I do on a day-to-day basis. So all of this boils down to one simple fact. And the example that you cited was El Dorado Park. The reason why there was intervention there is because the community did something about it. They addressed the query to the correct fora. And from there was a trickle-down effect in terms of the proper impact. That's what we're calling for at the Commission.
Calling for more active citizenry, Mr. Johnson, very briefly, in, I suppose, appealing for more calm and ensuring that, there is a collaborative efforts in dealing with these issues.
Yeah, definitely, we have been calling for calm over time, and calm we need, calm the nation needs. And we have appealed to the foreign migrants to keep calm equally, not to retaliate in any way, or like tomorrow we have advised, we have been awareness campaign on how to live or work, guide yourself with safety measures around, and we're appealing to generally migrants. Respect the laws of the host country. Respect the citizens of the host country. Be a good guest, so that the host will be a good host.
And by extension, we have an obligation also to treat our guests with dignity and security. But thanks indeed, gentlemen, as always, much appreciated. And thanks for you at home for calling in as well. We'll take a quick ad break. Live Ramatibela Smith is up next with this pulse.